floats it. Back corner for Adams. He pulls it in and gets his feet in. Touchdown. Toss to White. He's in. Patriots win the Super Bowl.
All right, thank you for watching another edition of Inside the Pylon. Fidel Barraza here alongside Walter Stringer and also Georgia State University offensive coordinator Hue Jackson and our special guest tonight, Angelo Grose, defensive back, Michigan State. Angelo, thank you so much for joining us. How you doing?
Appreciate you for having me. I'm doing good.
Yeah. Hey, let's dive right into it, man. Tell us about your football journey.
High school. I went to Mansfield Senior. From there, Michigan State for 5 years. I just finished my pro day 2 weeks ago. I'm waiting to see what happens, you know.
Your passion for football, when did that start for you?
Man, real young. About 10. My dad was playing semi-pro football. That's really what got me into really wanting to play football.
And how'd you become a defensive back?
Really, that's what my dad played. When my dad played in college, he played corner. I don't know. I guess I just had the natural skill sets to be a DB. So that's what they wanted me at.
As you approach the next level, what part of your game do you think translates best to the NFL?
I say my tackling, my smarts for the game, my IQ for sure. I think those are going to be the two biggest things that's going to help me at the next level.
What's the biggest thing that you want scouts and teams to know about you when they watch the film?
Man, that I'm a dog. Ain't nothing more I want to do on the field but to win, no matter what it is, what we doing. And I'm just always going to show up.
How's it going, Angelo, man?
It's going good.
It's not often we get a prospect on here that I know all about. I'm from Detroit. I know all about you. I want to ask you a couple questions about your time at State, because you wasn't a guy that just spent 4 or 5 years in college and didn't play for 3 years and had 1 year of production, or didn't play for 4 years and had 5. You're a guy that actually played and had a lot of production, especially as a tackler. That's for sure. At your size, I think you have right on the cusp of the prototypical size for corners nowadays, or if they want to move you to safety. Are you willing to take any moves to safety if teams want you to do that? Because there's so much, I would say, there's so much money, I think, nowadays put in guys who can play multiple positions, especially at corner.
Yeah, for sure. See, even when I went down to my Senior Bowl, I played corner down there, and that got me a couple calls, you know. So even playing corner, that's definitely something I do. Nickel, corner, safety, really, I could play anywhere for real.
So there was a lot of interesting things going on at Michigan State at the time that you was there, man.
Yeah.
I don't want to ask too many questions about some of that stuff, but
yeah.
How had things changed when Coach Smith took over, Jonathan Smith took over?
I said they came in with a different mindset, a more cool, not cool, but more chill, be kids, have fun. Like it was just more calm. I say that.
Oh. Who was the best player you ever played with at State?
Oh, the best player I ever played with at State.
Whether they in the NFL now or didn't make it in the NFL?
I had to say Jay Reed or Speedy Naylor.
Yeah.
For sure.
And both of those guys got to the NFL and became players, man. I'm glad to see that State has put a lot of players in the league, man.
I can't forget Ken. I can't forget Kenny Falk.
Cool.
For sure.
So, Angelo, first of all, congratulations. I know you're excited about, the draft possibilities that are coming up. And I think it's so important, as you mentioned, that you have that versatility to play both, because this is what I was talking about. There's so much money when there's versatility in players because they can see you doing one thing and might be a couple of years at safety. Oh, well, he can transition to corner, whatever that is, nickel, whatever that is. So I think that's going to really help you. But you said something earlier. You said you're a dog. What
Yeah,
does that mean to you?
man.
Can you dive deeper into that?
Like it don't matter like what's in front of me, what's the challenge, what's the obstacle. Like I'm ready to just attack it head on,
Hmm.
regardless of what it is.
Hmm. So I think I would. So as a person who's been in those rooms, and thought about, because a lot of players use that term, right? I'm a dog. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
right,
And a lot of people want to know, what does that mean? Because I think what it really means for a pro is that you just said it, somebody that's accountable, that they're going to be not just game day, that they can handle everything away from the game day, right? That they can study the game at a high level, that they understand how to intertwine with their teammates, deal with the coaches, deal with things away from the building, away from football,
right,
and somebody who's going to be accountable on game day to play the game at a high level and produce.
right,
Like we said, you have a lot of production in your career. That's going to be looked on, as you get ready to make this new transition. And the value that you bring to a team is, can he continue that production at a high level? And how does he fit into our defensive scheme? Because you want the team that takes you, that's going to allow you to be the best version of you.
right.
If a team takes you that's not going to let you be the best version of you, it puts you in a tough situation, right? So I just think it's really important as you talk to these teams, you want to make them understand that, hey man, I study this game. I
Mm,
spend a lot of time understanding the game at a high level. I study these receivers. I study formations and tendencies and all those things because it gives
yeah,
me the best chance to be successful.
right. I agree. I definitely agree.
What areas have you most improved on from when you started playing college football till now?
I say my biggest one would be IQ for the game. My knowledge for the game. I always been a pretty good tackler. I got better in my man coverage. I kind of fell off this year for sure. So that's definitely gonna be an area that I gotta pick back up in. Um, so yeah, pretty much them areas right there.
What's your game day preparation look like?
Game day prep. Probably listening to music, getting calm. Just going through my checks again. My last a couple tips. Uh, stuff like that.
What
Real
kind of
calm.
music you listening to, Angela, when you're getting pumped up for the game?
I'm more of a calm because I already be juiced up, ready to go. So I gotta listen to some calm tunes. I'm more R&B. I be listening to R&B sometimes. I throw in some gospel. Then towards the game, I turn on some more, pumped up music.
Yeah. So Angelo, I think we're at a point in time in the NFL game where it's similar to how things were in like the 80s and early 90s, where I think experienced players matter again. Before the video, we were talking about the quarterback position and how guys like Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, guys who had a ton of college experience. And the quarterback position is a position similar to corner,
Mm-hmm.
where you don't get better just to stand on the sideline. You need reps. You
Yeah.
need to go out there. You need to get burnt a little bit. You need to get a couple of pass breakups. You need to get a pick to boost your confidence. You need to touch that wide receiver, get in his hip pocket, stay in phase. You need reps and you need experience. I think it's a point in time now in the league with coaches being on short leashes and teams being expected to turn things around immediately as soon as coaches get around. They need players who can hit the ground running now more than ever.
Yeah.
No more no more 4-game preseasons. Now you're looking at maybe a game and a half to get rookies ready. If I only have a game and a half to get rookies ready, I would rather have seniors. Just being honest about it. Seniors, guys who played a ton of games, been
Right.
through a bunch of wars. You've been through the Ohio State games. You've been through the Michigan games. And for whatever reason, I noticed that program at Michigan State, regardless of the success they have or don't have, they put a lot of dudes in the NFL. Regardless who the coaches have been, those wide receivers make it to the NFL. They've gotten a decent amount of backs, offensive linemen. How is it right now for you looking at the NFL, and when you talk to these representatives and they ask you about whether you can play corner or safety, and they ask you about that versatility. How do you respond to it? Because like your resume speaks for itself, man.
Yeah. And I just feel like understanding the game, understanding the coverages, understanding why we running certain coverages when we running it. Like I feel like all that helps me be versatile into being good at being at multiple different positions. I feel like just having an understanding of what you're doing out there really just gives you the upper hand on being able to play many positions.
Well, here you are, your first opportunity. You're going to get a chance to cover Jamar Chase. What would you do to prepare for a guy like Jamar Chase?
I study his releases. I study what routes, his top 5 routes he like to run out of each formation that their top 5 formations. I look at his splits on where he's running different routes at. I look at all that type of stuff for sure.
Is there a player that you currently model your game after, Angelo?
I wouldn't say currently, but I used to say I wanted to play like Bobby Sanders for a long time for sure.
Tell us about that.
Man, it really started with Coach Guess. He was one of our he actually the head basketball strength coach, but he was a football, and he used to always, well, he used to say I was small, but he used to be like, you how you play like Bobby Sanders, but you're not as big as Bobby Sanders. And then I looked up Bobby Sanders, and I was like, yeah, no, this is definitely somebody I want to have to model my game behind for sure.
What was it about Bobby that caught your eye?
Oh man, just the way he sideline to sideline, he coming down making tackles out the middle of the field, like his whole game style, I loved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think free safety is a fun position to play when they allow you to be you.
Yeah, for sure.
You look at guys like Ed Reed and Brian Dawkins. If you are an instinctful safety and your defense you play in doesn't rob you of your instincts and they allow you to be you and allow you to play safety, is a very fun position to play, man.
Sure, it is.
Angela, how are you getting ready for the NFL draft?
I'm just staying on a workout routine. I'm up here in Lansing actually, so I'm still up here using, the facilities, trying to get right,
Run us through a day as you're getting prepped for the NFL draft. What are you doing?
I'm waking up. I'll probably wake up about 7:30, get in the shower, head over to the facility, lift, run, come back home. I got boots here, so I usually just hop in the Normatec boots here, and then that's my rest of the day. Wake up, and it's just got to be a routine, a strict one at that. So just so you get your body ready.
Everyone has a role model or someone that they look for advice. Who would that person be for you?
Ah, man, definitely my dad. I mean, I go to my dad for everything. No matter how big or small, he definitely always keep me right, or he always got the right answers for me.
So, what is your plan once you're drafted? How do you see that process transitioning for you?
I feel like my agent, he's really well, he's been there, so like I feel like he's definitely gonna help me a lot. I mean, I don't really know what's too much to expect once it happens, once I get drafted, but I know I can just every day put my best foot forward, go hard every day, and try to make a team. And any questions I have, I just pray that my agent, he gets me right and he leads me down the right path.
Well, I'm gonna give you a nugget because once you're drafted to a team, there's gonna be what they call organized team activities, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
somewhat like spring ball. Okay, and then they probably don't have as many of those practices as they used to in the past, but they probably have about 6 to 10. I would say to you, you need to treat it like spring ball. You remember
Yeah.
how spring ball, you knew it was coming. The defensive coordinator, the offensive coordinator, I should say, was the same guy probably, right?
Right.
And you knew what that install was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So if I was you, whatever team drafts me, I go find the tape of what last year's off-season practice was like.
Yeah.
Okay, if it's the same guy, because it's going to be the same install.
Right. Right.
Because those are the people you have to compete against first,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you want to look good, you know what their install is, you know exactly what they're doing and how they're doing it.
Right.
Okay, and study the receivers that are on your team first, because those are guys you got to compete against first.
Right.
And once you understand that, that puts you in that process of getting you ready for however many preseason games it's going to be that you play in, and getting you ready for the regular season.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate that.
Sure.
Angelo, what's your favorite college highlight that you have?
Definitely had to be my first pick against Miami. For sure, definitely. That's definitely my favorite play.
Walk us through it. What'd you see, and you picked them off, and what
Man,
happened?
I was playing free safety. They were trips to the boundary, and they ran all verts. I went to the middle of the field. I didn't make it all the way to the middle of the field. He tried to throw it to the middle vert. Jumped in front of it, picked it off. For sure.
We guys in zone or man?
We were in zone. We were in cover 3, matter of fact. Yep. So great call, great play call for sure.
I did want to touch on one thing because you do have a ton of experience. You played at a major university in one of the biggest conferences in America. You were constantly on television. You played in some of the biggest rivalry games, like I said, Ohio State, the Michigan games. You played in bowl games. The tape is there. I think when you have that as a player in your back pocket and you know you put out good tape and you know that the NFL people know that you did it at a major university and you did it against top competition, those are all things that you do have in your favor. And I don't really see how, unless the work ethic isn't there, and I doubt if the work ethic isn't there because you don't play for 4, 5, 6 years, however, at a major university like Michigan State in a conference like the Big Ten without having work ethic.
Right.
So, like I said, I done seen a ton of you, man. I'm proud of you, and I wish you nothing but the best, man.
I appreciate that a lot. I do.
How many of the top 30 visits do you have lined up? None at this time?
Yeah, none at this time. No.
They'll show up. They will.
Angelo, and just one final question. Why should an NFL team draft you?
I mean, just like we've been talking about, I feel like I'm versatile. I think I bring a lot for teams. Like they can throw me anywhere, really, and I can be a good asset for the team. I mean, my work ethic, I work hard. I'm gonna show up every day. I'm gonna be there when you need me. And you definitely gonna be able to count on me to come in every day and play as hard as I can, regardless.
All right. Well, that's going to go ahead and do it for this edition of Inside the Pylon. Thank you so much, Angelo. Also, Coach Jackson, for joining us. And have a good night.
Appreciate it.